YouTube, it's Brian Phillips, A-10. No, it wasn't discontinued. It is back for another go round. Gen 2, version 2, whichever one you want to look at that. AR637TA. This one is equipped with smart technology, which is awesome. So we basically have the best of all worlds. Thrust reverse is not quite worked out on our model yet because we have to wait for the programming box, but we will show you how to do it. Stay tuned for the unbox build and radio setup like usual. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps. Look at those big, beautiful things. Our flight timer is set to 3 minutes, but here goes nothing. Beautiful takeoff, gear going up. Oh yes. 6S, 4,000 milliamp hour, Gen 2 in this one today. This thing flies super well. Full landing flaps here, we'll slow it down on the approach for you. With the full ordnance pack. Couple clicks of trim on the elevator there.
20.9 volts, flight pack, 20.9 volts.
Okay, full landing flaps coming in, slowing it down for a truly slow pass here. Man, that looks absolutely fantastic. And then into the power, twin 64 millimeters, no problem getting it in the air quick. Listen to the screen, guys. So beautiful. So I set up my telemetry warnings. And one thing I can warn you about is if you set up your telemetry warnings, you need to be aware that she's gonna update you often, and it's kind of annoying. On EDF equipped jets, oh yeah, this has safe select too. So if you're looking for a jet that's fast, over 100 miles an hour fast, let's try landing. You want to come back just a couple of steps so you can see. Perfect right there. I'm going to bring it over here and just get a nice gentle angle for our final. Just relaxing. Let it fall down. I could have taken it, but I'm not gonna. This thing is a smooth flying plane, extremely smooth. Really fast, if you want it to be, and very aerobatic capable. It flies. For me, I've got that 4,000 milliamp hour 6S pack all the way in the back, and it's sitting on the last strap. Look at that, guys. Woo! Even in the grass, frozen grass no less, and no problem getting it under control. So, in closing, we wanted to get you guys a couple of flights. Reverse thrust is going to be a nice tool, but I found that reverse thrust on EDF jets is either a big deal or it's nothing. So obviously you're not going to be putting this thing on floats. Why would you ever do that with an A-10? It would be disgusting. But at the same time, the thing floats beautifully through the air. And basically the version 2, the major changes include 40 amp dual avian ESC. It's a new thing we haven't seen before, or at least I haven't seen before. And what that does for us is it gives us telemetry feedback on pack voltage, in tandem with the AR637 TA. This is not a T, it's a TA. So keep that in mind. If you were to crash this plane and use it, you won't have the barometer functions, which gives you the altitude calculation. Also, the absolutely gorgeous landing gear don't seem to be phased at all. I wasn't landing on grass, but it's frozen. I would never attempt to land on this grass on purpose, but the overrun wasn't a problem at all. And as you can see, nice and robust, and we have oleos with spring-loaded ends on each of the bogies. Let's give you guys a quick look at where we have our Gen 2 pack. I felt a little bit nose heavy on that even today, but you're not gonna get a whole lot further back. So that being understood, unless you're into adding tail weight to this plane, you probably don't wanna try for a 5,000, even though you might be able to squeeze it in here. This canopy is pretty limiting on where you can stick that pack, but just absolutely gorgeous, sounds amazing, very good power to weight ratio. We had about a 3-minute flight, and I would say 3 minutes is conservative and doable. I wouldn't push it until you're comfortable. And with us, when we have a failed landing, we got to go around such a long ways. Some of you guys might have a little tighter circuit that you can run, and you won't have to gain altitude to get over obstructions, trees, power lines, homes, things like that. So the bigger areas are gonna love this A-10, but just remember, the visibility on this plane is good, except for when it's really cloudy. You need to keep an eye on. The nav lights are great, but this opaque finish does block the view of them unless you're at certain positions, okay? But at night, it gives you, at twilight, it gives you plenty of indication of what direction you're going. And I love the way they look. They look super scale. That being said, I also love the fact that this thing screams. The ordnance creates all these little vortices, and if we were to take it off, it still flies amazing. But the thing is, on most planes, I think ordnance just sucks life out of it. I feel like on this plane, it does really good with the ordnance, which is strange. So we'll try to get you guys a clean flight, but it won't be right this second. So stay tuned. We're gonna get the reverse thrust setup done probably on a second video, and we'll show you have to undo these 6 screws, lift this thing out, and there's actually 2 wires, short little pigtails that come out of each ESC, and that's how you're gonna set it up. Because if you look right here, I'll show you this. We have the smart stuff, which is really nice. Look at that, we still have power to spare. We could probably go a little longer. 3.8. You don't wanna push it on an EDF though. See, that's all you got. So you're not gonna actually you're never gonna get where you wanna go by scrolling to the right, which would get you into that avian ESC programming menu. Now I have it on good word that they're working on it, but don't plan on it. Get yourself the little $30 box, program the thing if you absolutely must have the thrust reverse. Also, we have already pre-designated channel attached to switch G, so we can set up our typical pilot fatigue setting, and we will go through that all as a function of a follow-up video on this plane. So stay tuned, but for now, if you guys are heartbroken because you missed out on an opportunity to buy the absolutely fantastic E-flite A-10, don't worry. You're gonna get a lot better one. A lot better one. Those features are good. Also, I felt like in terms of cable management and stuff, there was like none.
No.
All we had to do was basically put this on. You do have to assemble the tail. Not a big deal. We used mucilage for it. You could use foam to foam. I think on the original instructions, it called for medium CA, but I ended up using medium CA, plugged in one of my wires backward on my first one and had to take it apart. So we got super lucky. On this one, we had nothing but success. It was super easy to put together. There's a little bit of work, but it wasn't hard work. It just takes time. So, and everything keys in nicely. We didn't have problems with parts wanting to slip apart and all that. Didn't have to tape it together and worry about taking finish off. And then of course the ordnance pack is just phenomenal on this thing. They get pushed straight back, so they do go on and off relatively easy. But the big thing you want to watch for is that if you squish in the wrong angle, you're going to damage them. And the gun. Did we talk about the gun? That is what this plane is designed around. Look, they even painted it inside the wheel well. I don't think the version 1 was painted inside. Makes a big difference in scale appearance. From a distance, you can't see anything, which is really nice. And all the servos are super strong. I think they upgraded the servos and the tail feathers too. I never had a problem with mine. on the version 1, but evidently some people did. So Horizon was listening to us on this plane, which is great. So thank you, Horizon. Good job, E-flite, with this plane. Everything about it, I love. The only thing I don't love is I don't have thrust reverse yet. But to be honest, we know how to do it. We just have to get the little box because we didn't have the box previously, because we could do the stuff through, well, it's actually not forward programming, but we could do it through, I believe they call it serial over DSMX or whatever. I don't know. They had some explanation for it. But this thing is just awesome. Definitely, if you guys are looking, get this plane. It is one you're going to want. It is very good. I don't ordinarily recommend that you reach out beyond your skill set, because that's one of the big things we do here on Brian Phillips RC. So thanks to our patrons for our financial support. We've had a couple of big gifts this month on PayPal, which is just super, I mean, it's super reassuring that what we're doing is striking a chord with some of you guys. So we really appreciate those gifts. Those individual gifts are really cool for us because they just come out of the blue. And then also we wanted to say a special thanks for all you guys that are buying these things from the links, because we still feel that is the best deal for you. It's the best deal for us. We get our small commissions from the companies we work with, and we don't have to sugarcoat this. We've never once had a company say, make this look good, unless they're really small Chinese companies. And then they tell us whatever they want to tell us, and we're like, whatever, we're not going to do that.
We want.
So, I mean, because we're never going to see you guys again. But the companies like Horizon, the companies like Arrows, we've been just really, really thrilled to be working with these guys. Honestly, Banggood's been pretty good to work with over the years. It's taken some time to figure them out, because when you have direct relations with Chinese people, the Chinese people have a different culture and they have a different business model, and they do not mind lying at all. It's very strange. But the thing is, it's just the way it is, and you have to learn how to deal with it. So the guys at Horizon, the guys at Arrows, the guys at, you know, some of these big American companies have learned to work out their relationships with these international companies, and they do a good job of getting to cut through the BS, go and trust but verify, you know, the things you have to do. So when you guys get all bent out of shape about Chinese products and how they're cheap and all this stuff, just remember, if you can find an American workshop that will put together a foamy like this, or a balsa wood plane, even better, and you can get somebody to work for less than $25 or $30 an hour to put these things together, then you just start that business, and we will be the first ones to join you in marketing that effort, because we would love to see it, but we're not holding our breaths either. So the labor is the killer in North America. So just get used to it, guys. These things are amazing. The technology is so good. We love these planes from Horizon, and this is no exception. It is one of the best jets they've ever made. And yes, the twin 64 millimeters is not a new platform for size class, but this has new power, and it has good power, and it will do everything you want it to do and more. So when you get this A-10, you won't be disappointed. Trust me on that. And also, by the way, the NX8 is plenty to do all the features. Yes, this does have safe. I regret to inform you, I didn't even turn it on once, mostly because it's just, I mean, when you see me flying, especially a fast plane like this, it just doesn't leave any time for that. So if you're wanting to fly on safe and you have a small environment like this, do me a favor, do yourself a favor. Don't do this. Get another plane. We're here to help you have success. We want you to be in this plane. We want you to have success and fly this thing. But if it's the difference between 6 months to a year, between where you are and your skills and this thing being a success, trust me, you want to find success. It's better for you in the long run. If you need to buy this thing, put it on the shelf for a year, you can do that too, and that is something to consider. But if it was my money, I'd be buying the things that I can fly right now. Because remember, fly it until the wings fall off when you're new. That's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks so much for your support. Don't forget to buy this stuff from the links in the video description below. Same thing with the NX8. Same thing with the Gen 2 pack. 6S 4000. 50C, do the higher C packs on this plane. I ordinarily do not push them. Twin EDFs. EDFs are battery eaters. Twin EDFs are worse. Get the smart pack with the higher C rating. Yes, it's worth it on this plane. Yes, it's worth it on a few planes. Generally, it's a huge waste of money, okay? Not on this plane. Get the 100C if you can afford it, okay? It's the only time where I'm gonna push you guys to get the higher C packs is something like this, something like the SU30. Any twin EDF is gonna be a battery eater. I promise you that. It will even tempt the fate of eating this pack when you push the limits. And believe me, you're gonna wanna push the limits with this thing. Come back for more. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this, we got the A-10 tank killer. Look at these beautiful retracts. There's been a lot of buzz lately. Where did the A-10 go? Why would Horizon discontinue such a plane? Don't worry, they didn't. Their shipping got stuck in the ship somewhere. Here we go, we're gonna take off right now. We're gonna show you this is V2, which means we have a dual Avian ESC. I believe it's 40 amps on each of them. Don't worry, reverse thrust is coming, but not quite yet. Be patient, we're working on the details. We have to get a programming box. We'll show you in great detail how to do it. Stay tuned for the Unbox build and radio setup after the flight. Takeoff flaps are deployed, elevator, everything's ready to rock and roll. And yes, we do have voltage through telemetry. So here goes nothing. Beautiful. A little bit of trim on the rudder. There we go. Right into the fiery ball of death. Excuse me. Man, that looks good. A few more clicks on the trim for the elevator or for the rudders. Look at those bright LEDs. Out of the flaps. Oh yes, do you hear the scream?
Yeah.
Whoa, there is a huge hawk just went across, or actually, just turkey hawk. Okay, here we go. That sounds sweet. So guys, the A-10 is a fast plane if you haven't flown one before, but you can also slow it down. We'll show you that right here. Coming in for a strafing run. Full landing flaps. Look at that bird over there. You see that thing? It's huge. Okay, here we go. A little bit of wind. We're flying into a little bit of wind here. Beautiful flight characteristics. Just does it all, folks. We're with the wind now. Full speed pass. So cool. Shooting the moon. Awesome. Takeoff flaps for a little bit quicker on the elevator. Thing feels great. We have our battery stuffed in there right to the first strap. Meaning the furthest back strap is right where the leading edge of the battery is. It's what are we doing? A 4000 6S50C. Full landing flaps here. We're gonna do a crosswind approach. Little pretend landing gear here coming down. Look at that, that is so sweet. Oh, that is so cool. Out of the gear, out of the flaps, into the power. These smart packs have been just phenomenal. Oh, look at that aircraft up there. Ooh, it's starting to get a warning. Full speed pass. Out of the flaps altogether. It's so cool. I don't know if you guys remember, but 20.9 volts on the flight pack. Okay, so we are at probably the time to try to take a landing. I need you to go over toward the center of the landing strip. Perfect, right there. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps. We're gonna try and approach here. I don't know if it's gonna work. Full landing flaps. Okay, about 15% throttle here. Call the gear if you see them. Oh yeah, I think we're good. I think we're gonna have to land the other way for visibility reasons. That's my timer. Oh look, that's so sweet. Okay, into the power, out of the flaps. Takeoff flaps there. Okay, camera crew, you good?
Yep.
I'm just gonna relax into this and just take it nice and slow. Full landing flaps here, letting the battery take a break, using the rudders to keep that thing flying. Watch yourself. Oh, I probably could have done it, but I'm not going to. Out of the gear. A little bit more yet, still on the rudders. Man, that looks so dang good. So we're at this weird time of night where my sunglasses are hurting me on this side and they're not hurting me on the other side, meaning I need them one direction, but I don't the other. And we have a bit of a crosswind, so just trying to take this nice and easy And about 4 steps back for you, please. Perfect, right there. We got it this time, I think. We got her. We're just gonna put it down. We're just gonna make a little turning landing strip there. Ah! All right, so look at this terrible, disastrous crashing landing. Okay, camera crew, I'm going in. Wish me luck. Okay, so we had some snow here just today, so hopefully there's no damage. I doubt there is. We just pretty much flipped when it went over the edge. And what a beautiful A-10! Is there any damage? How are we looking?
I can see.
Okay, so guys, if you didn't get it on the first go around, oh no, we got some, we got some dirty tips here. Other than that, we got a little bit of moisture here. Other than that, I think we're good. If you want to hand me the remote. The landing gear, oh, nasty. Look at the nose gear.
Muddy.
So chunky and messy. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put it down right here and we're gonna taxi that out. Look, I got my arm.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Out of the flaps. Oh, the missiles took it too. Do you see that? Oh, that is nasty and juicy. But guys, just to be clear, this plane does it super, super well. Whatever it is you're trying to do, which is takeoff, landing, high-speed passes, flaps up, flaps down. The thing is just gorgeous. You see it dripping off of those missiles. That is sweet. This plane is, I love the first one, and I think I'm gonna love this one even more, just from the simple fact that it is really well put together, and now we have the awesome telemetry that helps save your batteries and also save your planes. So as you can see, we're a little bit over, but we were walking for part of that. But if you look here, we're at 20.8 volts. That's the min. 23.1 right now. So we could go for a little bit more, but of course we're not gonna do that because I don't wanna lose the plane. And this thing just looks absolutely fabulous. Those bright LEDs are gonna show up against the sunset. I love the way this plane looks. Love the camo appearance. Love the ordnance. I typically don't fly with ordnance, but on this plane, it's one exception because it really does do well. And also, I don't know if you guys could hear it, but that scream was just something fantastic. Now, also I wanna talk about thrust reverse. Thrust reverse is coming, but you're probably gonna need the programmer for the time being. So plan on, if you're ordering this now, we'll have a link to the ESC, the Avian ESC programmer. And it's not a super expensive thing. I think it's about like 30 bucks. But it is something that you can use in programming other transmitters that you don't want to use forward programming for, or just borrow it from a buddy. If a buddy has it, like use theirs. Because basically what you have to do is you have to lift the engine off. There's 6 screws, you lift it out and then you just tug on the power cable. It all comes back as one unit, and there's 2 little cables that come out. There's one that goes back to the ESC, or excuse me, to the receiver, and all you have to do is hook up there and you can program them one at a time. And once you've set them up, then you can of course assign reverse thrust, which we have made allowance for it in our current setup for switch G to do our throttle reversing. So on a landing like this, where we've got this crosswind and we've got the lighting just getting into our own right now, basically I was just playing it safe here because I felt like if I went around again, I probably would have got to a no power configuration, meaning I couldn't dead stick land this, because with all that ordnance on there, it'd be a nasty mess, especially with soft ground after having somewhat of a thaw. So anyway, guys, if you're looking for this E-flite A-10, beautiful plane, I would highly recommend it. It's gonna be a great choice. If you guys have an opportunity to get one picked up, do it before they go out of stock again. They aren't going out of stock necessarily, but the thing is, everything stock is like hit or miss like crazy right now. And just look how absolutely gorgeous it is. Obviously the front wheel is a little bit screwed up right now because of the muddy mess that I flipped it over into. But other than that, it just looks absolutely phenomenal. And the bright LEDs really do help a lot. You can definitely see them from a distance. I was surprised at the number of clicks of trim I had to give to get the thing to go straight, but I think a little bit of that might just be because of the wind and it's in this crosswind right now where it's almost exactly 90 degrees our runway. And just love the way the EDFs sound in this plane. They're really quiet, and it's strange because you wouldn't think that'd be a good thing, but I think it's sweet. It just sounds good, it looks good. Definitely pick one up. And also, the other thing too to keep in mind, throttle cuts on, by the way. This plane is actually a relatively easy plane to transport because it's not humongous. So, ordnance makes it a lot harder to transport. So if you have to take this in and out of the car a lot, take the ordnance off, it will be a lot easier. And it is actually quite easy to put the ordnance on, but if I was doing that on a regular basis, I would label them like A and B and C and D because you can actually mix them up and then it might look a little bit weird. But just love it, guys. There's nothing not to like about this. We're gonna obviously get you another flight and we're gonna try to do it. I don't know if we're gonna go for, if you wouldn't mind holding that, I'm gonna show you guys where I got my battery right now too. Like I said, right at the strap. So we didn't even use the front strap. And that's just something that we run into on a lot of jets. Gen 2 pack works really nice. I'm flying on a 50C pack. And as you can see, there's no puffage going on. We're nice and square still, which is what you want. And we did ride it, I think, pretty close to the limit. Maybe we could get 4 minutes of flight time, but I'm not gonna encourage anybody to do that because we came around, we were probably at 4 minutes when we put down our wheels. So we're gonna do this obviously in dead calm as well, as quick as we can so we can get that better footage for better landings. It's just gonna look awesome. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned, come back for more. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We have a box right here. We're gonna open it right now. It's gonna be amazing. You've already seen it fly. And I'm sure it was great. But we are in the process of opening the box, so we still don't know just how amazing it's gonna be. Oh my goodness, what is that? It's an A-10 twin 64 millimeter. One of the best. I assume this is gonna be our version 2 or version B. Some people were very, very concerned that this was discontinued. And I had to begrudgingly agree. I can't seem to find it either. Well, you wanna know where it was? I was not getting discontinued. They were getting the receiver switched out, I believe. So now, this one comes with some smart technology. I think it comes with an AR-631, but I'm not sure yet. We're gonna find out when we open the box right now. This, of course, is bind and fly. You can get it as a plug and fly too, but I think the vast majority of people are gonna get bind and fly on something like this. By the way, for what it's worth, the value on a bind and fly is really good compared to a plug and fly, if you ask me. But if you're flying with a non-spectrum radio, then the bind and fly seems, it's an exceptionally bad value. Okay, so we're just gonna whip this thing right out and get right to it. And I am dedicating myself to plugging all the wires in the correct direction.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I know. Good idea. All right, so that's everything in there. We're gonna put this box right next to our banana truck back here. We got a little banana truck in the background. Just got done reviewing that. That's pretty cool. We still have to fly it outside, but still very fun.
We could drive it outside too.
What?
You said fly it outside.
Oh, well, I mean, maybe it'll fly, I don't know. Okay, so without further ado, we're gonna open this thing up. Looks like this has to come straight out. Looks like they renegotiated the packaging a little bit on this product. Look at that, a not folded manual. Thank you, E-flite. Some of the best manuals in manual history.
Mm-hmm. True.
Excuse me, guys. Okay, we have some amazing, beautiful ordnance. And you know I'm not a big fan of flying with ordnance. We just did a flight this afternoon with ordnance. And it was amazing. Got some missile pods, rocket pods. Super cool. And then we have some more missiles. Oh yeah, buddy. There are a lot of ordnance on the A-10. And What I found is that with lots of ordnance comes lots of drag, but this plane is a speed demon, so it will handle the extra drag just fine. They're very light. It's all about drag. Okay. I think I got all the ordnance out. Ooh, there's more stuff in here. Don't miss this pocket here. Looks like we've got a handful of decals, nut and bolt sack, and then this little antenna doohickey, which goes on the front. All right, so we're gonna stuff this back into that spot. Got some more foam to protect the foam. Horizon is historically very good about foam to protect the foam from the other foam. It's been a while since we did a Horizon plane, actually.
Has been.
Now that I sit and think about it, it's like, wow, it's been a long time. So we are excited to be opening a new one. Okay, just kind of working our way through, getting all the different foam plugs out. Okay, we've got a beautiful tail. You do have to glue this together. Definitely have servos on the tail, which is awesome. Something that we've come to really expect from relatively small and complex planes. Twin elevators, ball links. Looks like we're in the third from the outside hole on both of those. And then of course we've got simulated glowing strips. I'm still waiting for a plane that has real ones.
That would be so cool.
It would be super, super cool. Granted, I just don't think we're gonna get it on this size class. I think you're gonna have a pretty huge plane for it to work. Okay, so this is going to, look at all those plugs, goodness gracious. No wonder I screwed them up. Excuse my yakking, guys. All right, so then the wing. Oh yes, big old ailerons, big old flaps. And we have a quick plug, which is really nice. So if you do have to take it apart, although this plane does not take up much space, it's actually a pretty concise deal. Very strong wing. You're not gonna notice any big problems with strength on this plane. Beautiful, bright nav lights on the sides. Okay, so we're just gonna keep digging. As per typical with Horizon products, the packaging is basically second to none. You're not gonna get a better packaged plane than with Horizon. Had this inside the canopy, that's very strange. Oh man, look at that. Just really gorgeous. See the instruments? Very cool. Got the vent holes here, so it doesn't fog up quite as bad. Yes. You know what's super nice that I just noticed? IC5 instead of an EC5.
Oh, nice.
I hate EC5s with a passion. Look at this. See this? Nope. Don't stick anything in you don't want to lose. And then all the wires are stuffed back there. Two big heavy duty straps, so that's pretty sweet. And like I said, this is not an overly huge model, but it's gonna have some presence in the air. I can tell you that from experience. And I think that's everything in there. I think we got it all, and there's nothing on the backside, so we're gonna get cleaned up and get ready to do the build next. Stay tuned. Rami RC. Shameless plug. This is Hobby King mucilage. This is foam to foam. The reason that we're using a Hobby King product and an e-flite unboxing is because this is gone. See? So because this really nice stuff is gone, I'm gonna use this slightly less nice stuff here. It was evidently opened a couple of days ago. So anyway, yeah, a buddy of mine, Esteban, got me this cup. It's a misprint cup, so I'm not sure if he got like a discount on it or what the deal is, but I like the cup. I've only broken it once. And I do like Ramy. Ramy is good stuff. So
Didn't you CA it back together?
I CA'd it back together. You better believe it. I used some Dynam high quality CA too. I don't know what CA I used. All right, so we got to glue this thing. So ordinarily I would say get your foam to foam out like it says in the manual, which is ironic because the manual used to say to use medium CA. And now somehow after me not using CA, they decided to put this down. So, oh wow, I do have enough. I squeezed it right out of there. Okay, so there's your foam to foam, which is a contact cement. And the reason I'm using this stuff is because it's clear and beautiful. And then I can demonstrate, what is this thing called again?
A paved penny pod?
The doohickey majigger. Yeah.
Good thing somebody reads the directions.
Hey, listen, not all of us are plane aficionados here, camera crew.
Some of us read the directions.
So I'm gonna just squeeze some of this on there. Look how perfectly clear that is. Boy, wouldn't that be nice if we had more of this foam to foam to use on other planes? It would be nice. So anyway, what you do is you spread this around like this, and you leave it, and it sits like this, okay? And then it's ready when you're ready to stick it together. Okay, then a few minutes later you come back. See, this stuff barely smells. It doesn't smell much, so it's not really any fun in that way, like normal glue.
Don't.
What? See, look, see all the stringies? See all that mess? That's what you're going for, guys. You wanna let that sit for just a minute or two longer, but don't let it get on the finish of your plane because it is a beautiful finish. By the way, look how nice this finish is. Mm-hmm. This is really good. The Horizon planes are getting so much better. I think the upper echelon of foamies is definitely, I would say that it's probably still gonna be with Horizon. There are some other brands out there that do a really nice job of details on their foamies, but Horizon does a great job. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. All right, ready to stick? You'll note that I took some time, let it sit, and now I'm coming back. Okay? And once that's set, it will be solid, okay? Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take this and I'm gonna assemble the tail. Why are you doing this all out of order? Everybody's saying. The reason I'm doing it out of order is because the nature of the installation, okay? I want this to be glued together so that I don't have to fight it later, but I'm gonna be super, 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 super careful to get my wires in the right orientation, okay? Why would I need to be super, super, super careful?
Because it's not very fun to unglue it to switch your
And
servo lead
I got
times.
really lucky last time and it came apart. Okay, so this is weird. Oh, yeah, there's a carbon fiber spar in there, so don't think that's where your wire is. The wire's right here. Okay, so that obviously is not right. That is right. So what we need to do is we need to glue this to that. But this rudder label may get in your way, so just be aware that it's, I mean, yes, guys, this is your rudder plug right there. If there were any doubt, you probably shouldn't be building this plane. Well, that's called a rudder. If you didn't know that was a rudder, I suppose that'd be the only excuse. But anyway, okay, so this is gonna go here. We don't make fun of stupid questions here on Brian Phillips RC because we all ask stupid questions from time to time. Some of us more frequently than others, okay?
You're welcome.
I am totally fine with making a fool of myself. Publicly, some of you guys aren't, and I get that. But the thing is, if you have a question, leave it in the comments below. We do our very best to answer as many questions as we can, but we do have a really hard time remembering specific, yeah, I double, triple checked.
Okay.
We're gonna check when we're done too.
Okay.
We have a really hard time remembering hyper-specific details like, hey, what was your dual rates and expo setting for that plane? I don't know, it was a long time ago, guys. It's like, Brian, you just filmed it yesterday. Well, I mean, that's one exception. Just watch the video, we'll show. If it's important, we show it, guys. I promise. Okay, so you see, the brown is up. The brown is up, and it's always awkward to hold these two different pieces. See, the brown is up, and the brown is up. The red is in the middle, and the yellow is on the bottom, and the orange is on the bottom, okay? So that's gonna be down like this. Did we get a decal with this plane? Like a
Yes.
decal sheet?
Right here.
That's it?
Yes.
They seem to show a longer decal going over that, though.
I know. I was trying to figure that out off camera, but that was
I don't see it.
we happy.
Oh, was it in the manual? Did it like stick in here somewhere? Yes.
Oh.
See?
Good thinking.
Yes. I love it when I'm right and the camera crew is wrong once every 6 months. See this? These, believe it or not, will line up almost perfectly when we're ready to do this. So keep those, make sure you're done, and then you can do that. So if I had foam to foam, I would use it, but that's pretty much gone. So we're gonna go to the mucilage. I used to use mucilage. Okay, here's my gripe with mucilage, okay? You'll get this stuff, it's cheaper than this, okay? But I would recommend this. Why? Oh, because you work with Horizon, not Hobby King. No, first of all, we work with Hobby King too. But the thing is, this stuff costs, I believe, $10 or $11, somewhere in that ballpark. Don't beat me up over it because prices are always changing, people. Let's say it's 15 bucks, doesn't matter. Let's say it's 30 bucks. This is like 10 bucks, okay? But then you have to ship it. So it's like if you're buying this plane here, you're gonna wanna buy this with it. So you don't have to pay extra shipping. I mean, it's not rocket science. Unless you're building a rocket, then it is. The other thing is, this stuff, you'll open it and it will be wet and ready to work, like on the last squeeze, like you saw, okay? This stuff, I've opened it up brand new and not even had to cut the tip, and it's already open and it's dry.
Yep.
So when I buy this, I buy like 6 tubes still, you know, and it's cheap. It's maybe 10 or 11 bucks by the time you ship this. And this one's like probably 13 bucks, and then you would have to ship it unless you get it with a plane. So yes, this is 50 milliliters. This is 100 milliliters. So yeah, it's double the size. Why wouldn't you get this? Because it's not as good.
Well, if you throw half of it away, it doesn't matter.
Or if you throw, and believe me, you do have a little bit of residue in both tubes. The aluminized tube makes this stuff harder to get out because you'll squeeze and it will like seep out more than you mean. This stuff is a little bit better in that regard because it's just a plastic. But I have blown these up out the tailpipe.
Yep.
Okay. If you haven't blown it out the tailpipe at least once, you're not trying hard enough. Okay, here it is. I am going to actually stick the tube. See how hard it is to see this? Look at this. That ultrasonically welded tail will break on you, and I have done it on camera before. So if you guys don't believe me, I literally have footage of it, okay? You know, we talk a big game, but then every once in a while I actually filmed it, okay? So now, what is better about mucilage than foam to foam? What's better about mucilage than foam to foam is it is a little bit more tacky out of the tube. Now that's not always good, but sometimes it is good because it's a little bit quicker to work with, okay? You don't have to wait as long to set up. And if it's fresh and brand new and just got ordered yesterday, then it's gonna be a little bit thinner and a little bit more runny. Okay?
I'm having a hard time seeing. So
I'm sorry.
no, it just seemed dark.
Smells like glue. Okay? This stuff says it's poisonous, okay? That stuff says it's poisonous. This stuff, the MSDS is magic. It says magic. Keep out of the reach of children. Okay, so it does have an eye respiratory skin. Okay, they must have got sued. So anyway, that happens sometimes, you know. But here's the thing, guys. I'm not trying to beat up Hobby King. Hobby King has a time or place, and you want to know where the time and place is for Hobby King products? It's when you're new to the hobby and you haven't learned your lesson yet. That's pretty much it. I mean, they approached us. They wanted us to work with them. We said no for the time, not like no forever, but just no for the time. There's been some pretty good products that we've gotten from Hobby King, but it's always been non-Hobby King products. Like the ASW28, for instance. That is not made by them. It's made by Volantex, okay? So the Hobby King made products like Duraline, or not Duraline, what am I trying to say? What is the product line they make?
Durafly.
Is it Durafly?
Is it?
No, what am I trying to remember? Anyway, the de Havilland was one of them.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. Why can't I think of it? I'm brain fart time. Okay, so we stuck that in there. We've got glue, contact adhesive. So really, ideally, what you would do is you would let that set up and tack up, but you see those strings? I don't think we're gonna get it to sit too much longer, okay? But that'll hold perfectly fine, okay? Now, ideally, you would get tack on both sides, you'd let it sit for a few minutes and then push it together. Problem is when you have a penetration like that, sometimes it will stick so bad that you can't even get it to penetrate. Seriously, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not just being Brian Phillips here. That actually does happen. So seriously consider how long you let it sit when you have a penetration like that, okay? You don't what? What's wrong with my penetration comments? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this rudder. Hey, look, that's the rudder servo, in case you guys were wondering. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do this side now, and we're gonna be paying special attention to the fact that the yellow is down. In this case, it's up because we flipped the whole assembly upside down. And yellow is gonna go to orange, and then red's gonna go to red, and brown's gonna go to brown, okay? So you see how easy that would be to put that backward? It's very easy, okay? So now that's plugged in, and we're gonna verify. See? Mm-hmm. If I plug one of these in inside, I'm gonna like really be upset with myself because I've spent a lot of time talking about how I was gonna not do that.
I'm gonna be upset with you too.
I know, that was so annoying. Because basically what happens when you have two servos, you plug one in upside down, most of the time what happens is neither servo move. It's very strange. It's like a strange symptom. It's like assigning the same IP address to two different computers. Okay, neither of them show up on your network.
It's totally what I was thinking.
I knew you would think that. It's totally like you. In case you guys were wondering, my wonderful wife and camera crew, she is not a techno person.
Nope.
Technically minded person. And that's why she has me.
That's the only reason.
That's the only reason. I can't think of a good one other than that. Hey, you know what I want to do?
What?
I'm gonna sit here, try not to stick my foot in the cat water.
Okay, good luck.
So forgive me for drinking my Rammy RC cup of coffee tonight, guys. My throat, I don't know. I got like getting over a stupid cold. Don't worry, it's not COVID. There are still other colds that aren't COVID, in case you guys were wondering. If, you know, the news will tell you differently, but you can't actually get a regular cold still. Oh, see, it just blew like a big giant like booger schnob.
Oh,
see that?
Gross.
I know, I'm like seriously waiting for this to pop.
I know, I'm like.
You don't need to duck. It doesn't shoot across the room usually.
I've done it before.
Oh, I can't get the thing stuck to my foam to foam. Get off of my foam to foam. So we're gonna spread the giant snot, and we're just gonna kind of put it all over that area. And like I said, just resist the urge to let this set up too much. It would be good to let it set up to a degree, but if you let it set up too much, you're gonna have a hard time putting it together. You know, gluing these things is pretty simple stuff. I make it seem like it's a lot harder than it really is. Do I?
Yeah.
She's nodding. She nod with the camera so people know that you're agreeing with me. Oh, son of a monkey's uncle. Look at this.
You glued yourself.
Oh, I just got stickum on my shirt. Dang it.
The worst.
If you guys get a little something like that on your shirt, just come in there with a Q-tip and see if it'll take it right off. Yep, and it probably will. Now, the other thing is, seriously, if you do seriously get this on a place you don't want it, then you can use Kicker and it will break the adhesive nature down, okay?
That's true.
So, the other thing you can do is you can take the one that's got sticky all over it and you can actually probably pick it up that way too. Yep. You guys didn't know you were gonna get shirt cleaning advice today on Brian Phillips RC.
I think you should let it dry. And I bet it'll peel out.
I don't think it will. So I'm gonna stick this together and then we're gonna pause and we're gonna do some laundry. That's what we're calling it now. All right, so here we go. This is still going together, but as you can see, it's starting to get more difficult to push together. And don't be afraid of a little bit of seep on that glue. That's ordinary and it's not a big deal. It's not gonna cause a major conflict for you. But like right there, you see that wire pulled up? That is something you're gonna wanna try to resolve because it's gonna look like crap forever otherwise. See how I push that down in there? I can just slide that back together. See how hard it is to push together? You will have to push so hard that you'll damage the foam putting it together. So just be mindful of that. And this is gonna be held together really nicely. So I'm excited about that. And then our next step is of course to glue this. So we're gonna pause and get that stuff off my shirt. Okay, laundry time on Brian Phillips RC. Insta-set, also known as Kicker. Q-tip, soaked. A little bit of glue. Okay, Just come in here, get it a little bit sticky, get it wet with that Instaset. And then what'll happen is it will just literally fall right off of there. See, breaking down the adhesive, look at that. It's like it never even happened, guys. See that? I mean, I'm serious. If you get that stuff on the wrong item, I mean, if you stick the wrong thing to the other wrong thing, it could be major problems. Don't give me that look, camera crew.
You're just lucky that worked.
It's worked before. I already knew it would work. It wasn't like a question. It was just, it had to be done. Okay, so now that all the naysayers have stopped naysaying, we're gonna plug this stuff together. Okay, so we have 2 elevator plugs and 1 rudder Y cable. Now, why are the elevator plugs not through a Y cable? I don't know. I think it's just because the length of the cables and the proximity to where the actual servos ended up being. They just didn't have enough room to actually have that Y cable here, so it's actually buried back there. So now why are we building this in this weird order? Well, just because I built this one before and I know this is one of those areas where it was really kind of frustrating. Excuse me. I'm gonna turn this thing next to my Rammy cup, and that reminds me to take a drink. Just wait when we have our Brian Phillips RC cup someday. That is gonna be amazing and fulfilling experience for Brian Phillips RC.
It will.
I can just see the millions of orders coming in for Brian Phillips RC cups.
Yeah.
What other type of products should we sell on Brian Phillips RC? There's a cat fight about to happen, guys. If it breaks out, we're gonna join it in progress over here.
Yeah, this looks like a super... That's where our boy cat sleeps all the time.
It is funny because our boy cat doesn't realize that he's like 2 to 3 times as big as the girl cats.
Yeah.
And yet I think he's just a little bit too dumb to realize that he's like way stronger than them.
Yeah.
And the girl cats are way more feisty. Way more feisty. Wonder where they get that from. From
You?
their mother. Wait, you're not their mother.
Not their mother.
It's their sister / mother.
Aunt.
Wait, that's not their sister.
It's their aunt.
It's their aunt / cousin / grandmother. It's
not that
veritable
bad. It's not that
Jerry
bad,
Springer
yeah.
episode around here. Okay, so we have 2 elevator plugs. Get your color codes right. Now, you may notice what I'm doing here is I'm verifying my color code each time. I'm gonna talk about it a bunch, and then I'm gonna check. Okay? Double check. Okay, elevator. Yellow's going toward my belly. Always just give a quick tug. Make sure those things don't pull back. If they do, it's really easy to resolve, but not after it's already glued together, okay? Now, the other thing too is when you're doing this, it's a great time to break out the XBC battery checker if you want to test this. But as per usual, because of time constraints, I'm Brian Phillips RC, that's hilarious. Because of time constraints, I'm going to ignore my own good advice and laziness, but mostly laziness, 100% laziness.
I keep looking around the camera like it's gonna be different off camera than what I see.
Okay, yep, brown to brown, brown to brown, brown to brown. It's like Browntown here. Wait, it's not Browntown. What the heck are we talking about today? So we're gonna stuff this up the hole, which is another thing that we do a lot of on, you know, RC airplanes, obviously, is what I was talking about, not other things. Jeez, camera crew, calm down. Calm down right now. Okay, so those are all pressed down in there, and we have just enough length to be able to still tuck this. Okay, but you note that I'm gonna run into a problem here with my, the end of my fuselage. I gotta get it down here a little bit further. Okay, that's working phenomenally. It's just working perfectly. One of our longtime subscribers, Tom, bought me this one day. And I felt so bad because he shipped this thing to me. And the shipping service that he picked, I think it was like US Postal Service. Mm-hmm. Except it was like I think it was UPS fulfilled through USPS, okay? So I don't even think he picked US Postal Service. But anyway, they screwed up the package. And so this poor guy, he's just trying to do a good deed and help out, you know, some struggling YouTube superstars, you know. And anyway, so he ships this stuff out, and these things get lost in the package, all 4 of them.
Yep.
So this poor guy's got to go and figure out like where the heck they are, how to get them to us. I think the guy ends up just buying a second one because it was just taking forever to get a hold of, who makes that? Robart. Show the people how awesome this mucilage looks. Look at this. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of an episode of South Park where Stan's dad, well, I can't talk about that. It's a family show. But anyway, yeah, it just reminds me of, you know, spider webs and things like that. It's really messy. And if you're careful, you can do it without making a gigantic mess. But if you don't make a gigantic mess, where's the fun in that?
I don't know, coming from the guy that doesn't like messes.
I am kind of a clean freak. And when I say kind of, I mean completely. Mm-hmm. You guys don't realize it. I'm really a clean freak. I hate being dirty. Okay. So now I'm gonna just slip this down in here, and then it's probably just gonna make a big gooey mess. And not in a good way. Okay? So there it is. It's not done. You'll note it's lifting up. So let's show the people it lifting up. See it lifting up here? Mm-hmm. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna very strategically lift this out of the position that it needs to be sitting in. But in order to do this right, we're gonna push it down. Now this would be exactly the same case with foam to foam. The only difference is it'd be a lot easier to get the application even. In this case, the thicker, more gap-filling characteristic traits of mucilage is kind of handy, okay? Just saying. This stuff tends to run a little bit more, okay? We have links to both. Whatever works better for you guys is what you should buy. But if you're buying this plane, you might as well get the foam to foam because it's an inexpensive tool. You should have it. You're gonna need it at some point. And even if you get mucilage, you can still use the foam to foam in different applications too. So I would use foam to put this plane together if I had more of it. Now, I wanna warn you about another detail. You see how I'm pulling this off of the paint? Mm-hmm. That will yank the paint off, and this is a really nice finish. So if in doubt, sniff the tip, make sure it's, why are you looking at me like that? Just make sure that it's got the kicker on it still, and then look what's gonna happen. I'm gonna take off that little teeny bit of residual glue, and I'm gonna coat the surface so that when it poops out a big ball of it like this overnight, then I can just grab it, rip it off. Rip the balls right off. So, now that that's done, we'll come back to rip the balls off later. Okay, what's next? That was super easy and fun.
Are you not pushing that down anymore?
What just came out of this book? E-flite. There's a model, a manual addendum. The Spectrum Avian Dual 40 Amp Brushless Smart ES. Here, let's show them the part number. In this A-10 has 2 independent ESC boards. If making parameter changes, these must be programmed separately so that the settings match. Update each of the ESC boards to the latest firmware. Verify settings match by connecting the programming box to each of the leads separately. This is a programming box required, not included. Yippee! Maybe they should have sent that to us so we could show people how to do that. What?
Are you not pushing that down anymore?
No, I'm leaving it up. Show the people. See, I'm leaving that up on purpose. That's because I want the glue to air out and get off gas. Oh, look. Instructions on the stickers. I don't remember those before.
Oh.
Nah, they must have had them because we put them on. Okay, so the programming, I don't know if you guys got that. It's pretty simple stuff. Typically, when you program an Avian ESC, you actually program it through your transmitter. So I think I have a solution for that problem, depending on where the Y cable goes, because there's gonna be a Y cable that goes to the Avian ESC, but I don't know where it is. If it's up here, I can just split off the Y cable, plug in the throttle as usual, make my programming change, unplug that one, plug in the other one, make my programming changes as usual, and then they will match as per the manual, except we didn't do what the manual said. We'll see. Okay, this is getting hard to pull apart, which means it's time to stick it in the hole. Right? So look at this. Watch, it's gonna crush the foam. You see this? That's why you gotta be careful. If you wait too long, you won't even be able to get that thing to sit down. And I'm not exaggerating, it's not BP time. This is legit. Be careful with this step. You don't want it to be wrong, because then you're gonna have an inherent angle of attack issue. And I mean, the A-10 will attack at most angles. That was a cheap pun. Okay, so that glue is set up, so we'll just kind of keep an eye on it as we continue to progress through the assembly on this build. The wing, okay, so you put the tail together, it takes 473 steps. Now to put the wing on, watch how long this takes. Yeah, there it is. Yep, it's done, okay. I kind of wish the tail was a little easier like that. Then there's 4 screws. So to be perfectly frank with you, the tail goes on, it takes forever, it's a lot of work, but it's not really that hard. It's still, like on a scale of 0 to dynam, it's probably like closer to a 1 or 2.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
And if you don't get glue all over your shirt,
listen,
you have to stop for laundry. It wouldn't take as long.
I can't win with you. But yes, that is true. If you didn't goop your shirt.
You did do your own laundry today, so sort of.
No, I didn't. I just spilled coffee on myself, and then I got glue on myself too. I'm not winning today.
On yourself twice.
I'm not winning, Dave Ramsey says. I'm losing. Okay, good. All right, here it is. Yes.
It's pretty easy.
That was pretty easy. And by the way, guys, I want to show you in a secret area. Yes.
It's still a family show.
Yes. Watch this. Ooh. Just stick your finger in there, just so, and then, whoa! Look at that, it's an AR-637 TA! It's a DA, not a T. If you want a T, you have to buy it yourself and stick it in there. This is a TA, which is the cheaper bind and fly version of the AR-637T, which has the barometer for beep, 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 boop, 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 boop. Vario. And altitude distinguishing telemetry, which is pretty cool. And to be honest with you, that is a cool feature. It really is. Because then you can prove that you are at 399 feet or less. Karen. Safety first. All right, so let's lay this down gently. It's so beautiful. I'm so happy that it's got an IC5 on it. Oh, it makes me so happy. By the way, these straps are really nice, guys. Look at this. Ooh, look at that. Works perfectly. Boy, I hope this battery fits. What battery?
I didn't read it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to refer to the manual. Because this battery looks like it's not gonna be very big. Jets. Jets have a special way of making my head spin. Okay, so I learned a new trick. You wanna know what the new trick is?
Take your Velcro out.
Oh, except I already put Velcro on this pack.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well,
I've been using shelf liner on the back side of the Velcro. It's been working really nice.
Yep.
However, the shelf liner sticks on here, and then when the battery gets sucked down in there tight, it still gets adhesive onto the battery. Holy cow, there's a lot of ordnance we have to put on.
I know, I already separated them for you.
Oh, you did?
And left and right.
Wow. Okay, do you want to show the people what we're looking at? They're calling for a 4006S. 4006S, okay? And then we have about 400, well, which one? Where do I step?
Apparently nowhere.
It's like being married. God, what? She just gave me a look like you are in trouble, buddy. I don't want to put these on again, but I know that we do have the label. They show the...
Yeah, does it say on...
Yeah, it says on this
where the
one,
no
so it shows you...
steps go?
Yeah, it shows you where to go.
But the no steps always make it
I know,
cool.
it seems like such a minor detail, and then you put it on there and it looks sweet.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do that. Okay, so no steps.
We're not gonna show them all the no steps though, right?
Let's show them at least one.
Well, okay, that's fine.
Let's show them one. No step. You're supposed to put a no step here.
I can glare at you off camera.
I don't understand why this would be a no step here. Wouldn't that go on the control surface? They're saying no step is supposed to be going the other way here. And I'm like, wait, why? No step? Right there. That's what they say. It seems like kind of a weird spot for a no step in my opinion.
Maybe they mean like don't step across the line.
I don't know. They're usually pretty, you know, like idiot-proof marks, no steps. It's not like when you get special instructions for your laundry on Brian Phillips RC. Those are complicated. See, I think that should be here, but you know, whatever. I'm going by what it says on the manual. I'm hoping that somebody did their due diligence. I mean, you got to think about it. They're not going to get up here. They're going to get up back here, and then they're going to walk their way down. There's 3 on this spot here, and it looks like the no step is going to face that. That's so weird. So this must be a moving surface right here, which is strange. Okay, so you guys get the idea. We'll come back when we're done sticking 400 more of these on. Okay, so we have 473 no steps now. We're gonna do the stickers over here. I remember doing this on the last one, and we did have a certain level of confusion because it felt like maybe there wasn't a few that didn't fit quite exactly the way we thought. So we're gonna do this one on camera, make sure we can't resolve that together. I've always found that the X-Acto knife makes it a lot easier to apply these. Okay, so stick that on there. There's a long one and a skinnier one. See, this is the skinnier one and the kind of the fatter one, if you will. So when you're pulling these decals, there should be a couple of those. Make sure you're getting the right spot. It's very easy to mix them up. So if you kind of think about, this one's either here or there. That's the long one, this one's the not long one, okay? And these little details, I do not understand why these particular decals weren't applied for us, so it's probably like an afterthought sort of thing. Okay, now these are not the same either, okay? See how one's shorter? This one's the longer one. So the longer one goes here, or where's the other longer one go? There's one here and there's one there. That one's more square, this one's more tall, okay? So just kind of size them up. The drawing is somewhat helpful in that it tells you the direction the plane should be, you know, sitting. There are a lot of decals on this plane.
Yeah.
When you sit and look at all the ones that the factory applied, there is just tons of them. Okay. So that one's gonna go there. They do work really nicely. Mm-hmm. All right, so pull that off. So for those of you who weren't already aware and haven't heard me say it 57.5 times in the last 2 weeks, if you want to help support our channel, you can buy this plane from a link in the video description below. We'll link to the batteries that we used. Oh, by the way, I did get 3 extra no steps. I'm not sure if I missed some or if I just had extras, but I double checked and I believe I put them all on. So you can buy this plane for your very own from the links in the video description below. You'll be helping to support our channel with small financial contributions from the manufacturer and not from you, which is important because everybody has a limited RC budget. And if you don't have a limited RC budget, then I'm jealous. All right, where is the stickers? We need to do these. This is 2 for the bottom. And I believe we're just gonna grab these right off of here with my fingers instead of the X-Acto knife in this case. They will line up somewhat with the colors, okay? So if you're doing this and it doesn't look like it's gonna line up with the color, you're probably doing it wrong. So what you wanna do is you wanna get this laid out so that it lines up with the gray line. See that gray line? And then what I usually do is I'll walk this in with a sharp edge and then let it stick down. You see how I did that sharp edge there? I kind of creased it and then it walks right up on there. This plane is a little bit awkward on this plane stand, just so you know. The plane stand's actually been great. It still works, it's just a little bit awkward because of the twin engines back here. So then as this lays down, just kind of lift that up a little bit. Let that stick down and then walk the backside of the blade right into the seam. Now I believe that's probably supposed to be going underneath. So I might have kind of screwed the pooch on that one a little bit. So I'm actually just gonna cut it and see if I can take it off, which would be ideal. See how I cut that? So my apologies for screwing that up. You guys can apply that before you actually put your vertical stabilizer and rudders on. And then there is actually a sticker that's gonna cover up the servo on the top as well. So we'll get the other one installed first on the bottom. Look how nice that looks though. It's really clean finish. One big drawback is if you ever have a problem with the servo back here, then of course you have to try to mimic that. It's challenging to get these things to match. So this is what I'm lining up. I'm lining up right here because that's my checkpoint, okay? I'm just gonna let that drop. Then kind of the same thing here. I'm gonna take the X-Acto knife, hold this up, and then walk this into the seam. You see with the backside of the blade? That makes a nice little crease for us, and then it just falls down. And this stuff sticks good. But then wherever the rivets are, you have to rub. Be careful, I've got that knife sticking forward. I don't want you to get it on accident. Okay, so then I'm gonna walk this over, lift it up. You may have to go from my left shoulder, camera crew. That's my right shoulder. See how I'm pushing this in? I'm pushing that in. I'm just gonna try to push it under a little bit, see if I can get it. Probably can't. That's okay. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna stay. That'd be the alternative method. I don't think that worked as good. I would say the better option is to lay them on before you actually put the vertical stabilizer on. And see those rivets? They will come through if you go ahead and rub over that finish a little bit. See how they're kind of coming through? So that looks nice. Over time, they'll kind of unindent, in my experience. So far, so good. Very sweet looking. By the way, this thing is slick, so be careful. It will slide right out of your hand if you're not careful. And then see that? I just broke that off, and I think I've probably already done that twice and I just didn't notice. Yeah, it's holding pretty good. But see that antenna, it just is in a weird spot. What did they call that thing?
A pave penny pod?
Pave penny pod.
Should have Googled it.
Something like that. All right, so the last step that we have to do on this is basically getting the radio setup done. Now, ordinarily, you would need to use a 6S pack to fly this plane. And so I want to use a 6S pack to actually set things up. I got a 3200 here. It's not a 4000, but this will do for our testing. Okay, so very heavy duty straps, which is nice. I believe I flew ours originally on a 3200, not a 4000. They're recommending a 4000, but I have a very hard time believing that that's gonna fit. If you wanna just kind of take a look, you can definitely get this one in there, but that doesn't mean the canopy is gonna fit.
Right.
So let's take a look at the canopy. Oh, we need to put these on the back too. So we'll get the battery secured and then we can flip the plane over without running into problems. Be careful please there, camera crew. Okay, so that pulls through, that's good. Sign of a high quality install. We don't have glue gluing this, which kind of undermines our ability to use it. Kind of a pet peeve of mine too. Then that side's not gonna be very easy to get out, so I'm gonna have to grab some forceps. Forceps or hemostats look like this. If you're gonna buy them with the bent tip. This happens to be the straight tip. This is one of the very few times where you might want the straight tip because it's a little easier to reach down in. Jets are historically really challenging to get batteries installed in because the nature of the shape of the plane. We've had pretty good luck with the A-10, but it's still not as easy as the Carbon Z Cessna or, you know, something like that. Something that's gonna have a big battery, that's gonna have a really big tray. See, I've already knocked this stupid thing off again. Dang it, that's irritating. Okay, so now that that's been installed roughly, we know where the receiver is when we're ready to bind. I just want to show you guys how challenging this is going to be. That's a 3200. So now I don't know that we have the battery in the correct position. I think it's going to need to go back, or we're going to have to get creative, okay? So let's go ahead and cover up our servos in the back. I'm going to attempt to not knock this thing off again for the 14th time in order that it doesn't break off in a more permanent fashion. I guess I need to put that back on there, don't I? So what are we doing on the back here? This is the tail section. There's actually a right and wrong. These are different, so you have to study the paint job to figure out which one's which. Pretty sure this is the one that goes over here. Okay, so you just kind of study the colors. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna line up the edge where you've got the alignment, and then you just drop it down on top of there. You should be good to go. Look how nice that looks.
It does look really good.
Perfect fit, perfect matching color. Maybe you throw that out. So you see this here? Not a perfect match. Well, it is a perfect match. That's actually a different color there. But I remember there was some ambiguity about that one, so they must not have changed that at all. Okay, so remember this is version 2. The version 1 would have come with a different receiver. So, ordnance needs to be installed at some point. Probably doesn't need to be installed right this second just because it's gonna make it really hard to lay it down. So we're gonna pause, get reset, and come right back. All right, so we need to mark the CG on this plane. So because it's got all the stuff up here, you're gonna hang it upside down with the motors on the bottom. So 55 to 70 millimeters is what's prescribed on page 11 in the English. That's from the leading edge. We got a pretty flat wing, so it should be pretty easy. So 55. Okay, so we got that more or less locked in. Okay, so there's 1 point. I want to try to get it about the same. Okay, another point. Then we're gonna go to 70. That's a pretty big range actually. 15 millimeters on a plane that's not overly long seems like a pretty big difference. Okay, so we're gonna mark the back one, then we're gonna mark the front one, or the other back one. So the rationale behind doing it that way is super easy. Just go ahead and make my mark, then I can feel it. And it'll be real easy to try to balance it on or between those two holes. So when you get ready to fly this thing, you'll hopefully have good luck. If you don't get the CG in those range, or in that range, you're probably gonna have a heck of a time getting the thing to fly well. This plane is super high performance. It's very fast, like over 100 miles an hour fast. So you need to be thinking about that stuff when you get ready to fly it. Also, I don't know about reverse thrust. Yes, it has AV and ESCs, but I don't know if we're gonna be able to do reverse thrust yet. We're gonna have to just kind of get on with it and test it. So first things first, we do need to bind this thing, which means we need to set up a profile so that we can go ahead and set this plane up. Now, I don't believe we had the NX8 at the time. I think we had an NX6. So my old A10 is gonna be on the NX6. The new A10 is gonna be on the NX8, even though the profile is in the NX8 because I copied all my NX6 profiles over. They're not actually bound on the earlier models, okay? So we're gonna grab the manual. why don't we just, for grins and giggles, why don't we go ahead and put the ordnance on? I think at this point we should be safe to do that. So let's show the people right here how this works. Also, I'm gonna push this battery back, guys. See what I'm doing here? I'm just gonna push this back. The reason I'm gonna push it back is because I want to be able to have the canopy on so as to avoid the possibility of damaging, and I still can't get it in there. And they're talking about a 4,000. I just don't understand how, you see this?
Are you back all the way?
I'm not all the way. I mean, I can go further. We're gonna test the CG at some point, but look at that. I'm all the way into the usable spot. So then the plug is gonna have to be tucked back there too. That's gonna be pretty terrible. 4,000 is gonna be way worse. So I don't know how the heck that's gonna fit. I remember having some level of difficulty getting this thing to work last time. I think we're probably gonna have to take this out probably by the time we're all said and done, because I don't think it's gonna actually do anything, and it's just gonna prevent that thing from closing on us. So, not sure yet how this is gonna work. Well, we'll be ready to plug it in at least. But look, I still can't get this thing on because there's nowhere to stick the extras. There is gonna be room for the plug, actually. There will be room for the plug when it's plugged together. So maybe I can just do this for the moment to hold them in the same position that they might be when we're ready to fly. See how I've just got the negative wires together? Not feeling real promising. So in this case, I'm gonna tuck all the leads down to the side of the battery and behind the battery. Okay, so that is pressing down. It's kind of deflecting the canopy, but it is on there. All right, so we're gonna flip this thing over. Beautiful plane, just absolutely gorgeous. I don't even know if I'm gonna fly this with ordnance or not. We like to try to at least get one flight with ordnance because people wanna see it with ordnance, but I like the extra performance of not having ordnance. And really the ordnance I'm after on an A-10 is the gun. Okay, so let's look at what we've got, camera crew. We got a bunch of missiles and bombs and rocket pods. Looks like these are the Mark 8408. The Mark 84, oh, so D. The AIM-9 Sidewinders. I was gonna say, they look like Sidewinders. So this says L. So the right wing would be over here, correct? So this is left. That is left, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Wait. No, that's the right wing. Because look, that's the left wing. Yeah, that's the left wing.
Yep, you're right.
Sorry. So that's down there, and then it just slips back. That does look totally sweet. Every time I do this, I always talk myself into using them. Missiles go forward. Okay, so that's the left wing as well. The camera crew kind of laid these out for me, but then I sort of picked them up stupidly. This one's not marked.
Those aren't marked.
The bombs are not marked because they are ambidextrous. They'll go either way.
Everything else is marked.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This one's left. There's an L versus an R. See the R? Of course, that refers to the right wing versus the left wing. Okay, that looks absolutely amazing. Too much drag though. I don't like all the extra drag, but I love the way it looks. So cool, look at this. That is so sweet. That looks absolutely fantastic. And then the gun, of course, is just second to none. I would make the noise. And then look at the fans, they're just gorgeous. So beautiful. All right, enough about that. So now, the next step we have to do is get our profile built in the radio system. I'm gonna try this here, see if that works, now that we have the tail built. Hey, that'll work.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. We're gonna keep these ready, And then I wanna make sure the plane's facing away from me for convenience when I'm checking control surfaces and all that good stuff. It's just a little bit less confusion because it's going the same direction as me, as a pilot. Okay, so same way we do all planes that are bind and fly for Horizon, we go through the process of building the profile, but you can also go via Wi-Fi with your transmitter if you have a Wi-Fi signal that's reachable, and you can get from the internet a bind and fly profile and then download it and then just use it. Now, why do we not do that, camera crew?
Because we want you to learn how to use your equipment that you paid for.
Yeah, this is one of the more expensive things you're gonna buy, and you're gonna use it for a lot of planes. So it behooves you to learn how to use it, in my opinion. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and go back, or hit the scroll button to go into the function list, system setup, disconnect RF. It's gonna take you into model select. We should be good to show it because we've got everything in there. And then add new model. That's an acro we'll create. Takes a second for that to actually create.
Okay.
So now that it's created that, we're in a model type, which we already set, acro, model name. So this is the legacy keyboard. I like the legacy keyboard better. Some of you guys might not. You might like the new full keyboard. I don't like it. So I'm gonna use the legacy one. And this is the A-10 Thunderbolt 2 Twin 64 EDF. That's a mouthful. So we're gonna type that in somewhat like what it says on the manual and then come right back and show you what we did. All right, so we have the A-10 Thunderbolt 64 millimeters. We're out of character, so I couldn't put twin. So that's just the way it is. Okay, then aircraft type. This is where we're gonna go into the page on the manual that shows the basic setup. This is the computerized transmitter setup on page 3. Okay, so we're the NX8, so we're down here in this section. All right, so we need one flap, one aileron. Okay, so the wing type is gonna be one aileron, one flap, and then the tail, of course, is just a single rudder, because we don't actually set that up because there's not two different channels being consumed for the left and the right. Okay, so it's just a normal tail. And then of course we have to change this image to, I think they might have an A-10 in here. Oh, I moved past it. There it is. Okay, and then don't know if we're gonna do F modes in this yet because it's been a while. They do talk about reverse. Reverse the gear channel. I think they're talking about the actual gear though. What does it say?
That
Thrust reversing. Motor reversing is not enabled when the aircraft is new. See thrust reversing section of this manual for information about setting up the motor reversing. Where is the thrust section of the manual? I don't know if they're gonna even talk about it here. Yeah, they probably will. Yeah, integrated ESC telemetry. I think that we're gonna be able to do thrust reverse as per usual, but we're gonna have to separate those things, I'm guessing. Unless they just both take the exact, here's thrust reversing, optional. The Avian Smart ESC in this aircraft is equipped with thrust reversing, but it must be enabled before it will function. Reversing the motor can be helpful when taxiing or for shortening ground rollout after landing. Okay. Okay, so you need at least minimum 7 channels. The Avian ESC is also backward compatible with conventional receivers. All right, so after reading this a little bit more, I believe that the addendum would have spoke to this detail here, in that you have to program them separately because there are 2. So thrust reverse is capable on this plane, but you have to actually separate the ESCs from what I'm understanding in the addendum, which is sitting over there. The addendum suggests that you have to program them separately. Now that being said, according to this, if you go through the pulse width modulation and it picks up the pulse width modulation, it should hypothetically do both. I think the catch is you better be 100% sure that they're both gonna go, because if one goes and one doesn't, guess what you're gonna have? A crazy problem on your hands, especially if you're flying. Now, if you're on landing, it's just gonna be weird. It's gonna yaw the airplane like crazy. So I don't know if it's gonna have enough yaw authority to pivot the plane, but you're gonna have a crash almost certainly. So we'll try it. We'll just try what we know. And if it doesn't work, then we'll show you how to separate them, which hopefully does not involve surgery. Well, there is access to the receiver, but I don't know where that Y cable goes. Okay, so getting back to the point, page 3. We'll go back to page 3. We'll get this done. All right, so we're gonna walk out. We'll get the F mode later. Okay, so they suggest how long for the time. I don't think it's gonna matter because we have a smart ESC now. By the way, I remember this was on my DX18, the first one I had. So it's been a long time since they released this plane. Throttle cut, turn it on, switch H. Do they say -100 for throttle cut? Do they not even talk about throttle cut? They don't, do they? What the heck?
Oh yeah, throttle cut, 100%.
Where? Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, cool. So basically we see that it's working, and when it's off, it's allowed to travel up and down. When it's on, it's not allowed to travel, but we still have that center beep, okay? Then we're gonna go to flap system. We're gonna initiate the connection to switch B. We're gonna look down here on this chart, and it's gonna show position 0 is -100. So -100 with the elevator at 0, -10, elevator at 10, and then +70. And it looks like we need to reverse the gear here in a second too. And the speed is called out for 2 seconds, which is indicated here. They're suggesting using switch D. I do not use switch D because I have a really hard time getting to switch D compared to getting to switch B. I loathe using switch D. I use switch A for gear, B for flaps, and D for safe if I need it. Okay, so thrust reverse I've been assigning over here. Okay, some of you want to use a momentary push button, which I think is not great because it is hard to get to that button during flight, in my opinion. And we'll talk about the pilot fatigue if we need it after we get it working. We'll see how it works. It might not be crucial on this plane. I do remember it has one heck of a rollout. So I don't know if you remember it. We got some greasy, delicious landings with this when we first did it. But the thing is, thrust reverse would make it that much shorter, which is sweet for our landing strip, which is very short.
Did we fly it on this runway?
Yes, absolutely we did.
Okay.
It was one of the first planes we did in this runway, in fact. Okay, so we need to decouple. If we go to monitor mode, we can see that auxiliary 2 is attached to flap, so we're gonna have to free up that channel because we're gonna be using throttle, ailerons, elevator, rudder, gear, flaps, safe, and then thrust reverse, or thrust reverse and safe. So we need to decouple switch B. So we'll go to system setup, disconnect RF, and go down to channel assign. And I'm gonna go to next. That still says auxiliary 2, which is fine. But auxiliary 2, we don't necessarily want associated. I don't want it inhibited, I just don't want it associated with switch B. So now we go to monitor mode, see how this changes, but then this doesn't, okay? We don't want it tied together. Now D, that's also not tied to anything, but auxiliary 3 is tied to the right knob. We won't necessarily want that tied to that channel either because you could accidentally have that in the wrong setting and then have thrust reverse happen. So right knob, inhibit. We're probably gonna have to do flight mode to turn on safe and all that good jazz. See how nothing's changing? Nothing's changing, nothing's changing, nothing's changing, nothing's changing, changing. Okay, we also need to reverse switch A. Reverse gear. Okay, so we'll go into function list, servo setup, travel, reverse, and then switch gear, okay? They're suggesting dual rates as such. I'm gonna do dual rates in Expo like we always do real quick. Dual rates in Expo. I'm gonna attach to switch F. Lowest setting is gonna be 5. The next setting is gonna be 10. Now remember, this is in tandem with AS3X and or safe. So we'll go to 20, we'll drop rates back down to like 90. That's where we're gonna fly from. If it's too touchy, we'll go here. If it's not touchy enough to get to the ground, we'll go here. That gives us an out. Same thing here. We'll literally set them to the same value. Some of you guys want to separate these out, that's fine, but you are going to run out of switches eventually on an NX8 because you need quite a few switches to do all the functions when you start adding in thrust reverse. Five, 10, 20. Run that down to 90, and then we'll run in this mode, okay, to start. Not touchy enough, too touchy. So we've got an out, that's important. I am 100% certain we're gonna have to set up a flight mode, but let's just go ahead and, yeah, let's go to system setup, disconnect RF, flight mode setup. Where do I do that? Channel assign. Let's do switch D for aux2. Auxiliary 3. Now let's do auxiliary 3. Now why did we do that? Because I think this is the default for thrust reverse. So I'll set that to switch G, okay? I don't know what direction that needs to be, and we aren't gonna know until we get to that step. So I need to also make an assignment for flight modes. Setup, disconnect RF, flight mode setup. I want that to be attached. Switch 1 is D, so it's 1, 2, and 3. See that? See that? You can make assignments so that it'll be different settings depending on what position. So like for me, this will be AS3X, this will be off, and this will be safe. Okay, so we'll go back out. Now you can go into, I think it's under audio events, you can make these changes. I don't remember if it's there or flight modes, there we go. Okay, so this is where you can make the names. So flight mode 1, clear, clear. So this one's actually gonna be AS3X. I'm just gonna label it now. We might need to change it later, but this will at least get the name in there. Oh geez. AS3X. Okay. Then you can change what it says. Scroll all the way down, see that little bar? And then eventually it's gonna say AS3X. Tell me if you see it, hon.
You have to go past.
There's stabilization mode.
You have to go past the waypoint list. There you go.
There's safe mode for the other one. AS3X mode. AS3X mode. Flight mode 2. AS3X mode. Flight mode 2. Flight mode 2.
Okay, so then this is gonna be clear, clear. And then it's gonna be off. Or normal. I think we usually use the nomenclature off.
Because I think that's what we usually find for it to say.
Does it say off or does it say normal? I think it says normal. So again, you gotta go all the way down, which is super annoying. These are some of the things you can set up for always to be set on every model you make. And that would be a good idea to make a template because it takes a lot of time to set these things up. Do you see it yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so we'll pause and come back when we find it. So it says off.
AS3X mode off. Flight mode 3.
Okay, so then this one's gonna be safe. Now, this does not make the assignment for safe. This is simply a label that I am making, and I haven't found a quicker way to do it, so I just do it this way. And then just scroll all the way down again. And so basically at the end of the day, you have 3 switches. They're labeled. You may have to flip what the actual setting does within the menu structure on forward programming, but at least you've got kind of the descriptor being said the whole time. Safe mode.
Safe mode off. AS3X mode.
Awesome. Okay, so we are ready to bind the plane because we have throttle cut, we have timers not set. The timer was suggested, wasn't it? I didn't see it.
It's usually up in that box up
But
there.
they don't talk about it in this, don't they? I think it was 3 minutes on the first one, so I'm just gonna set it to 3 minutes and then we'll adjust if necessary. We're probably not gonna run off of the timer anyway because we now have telemetry. Shutting that off, shutting that off. 10 seconds, we want a voice. Expiration, we want tone and vibrate in the tone every 1 minute. So now, over 25%, it's gonna start, and then under 25%, it's gonna keep going. And then when you run out of time, you can clear it. It's gonna count down from 10 to 0 when your time is about to expire to give you a little bit of a notice. I was thinking about that today, and I said, it'd be probably better it'd be more helpful to have a 30-second warning because that'd be like you better get ready to land. Jets go through batteries fast. Okay, so in order to bind this plane, it's a pretty easy process. It does come with a bind plug, but you probably won't find that you're gonna use it because there is a bind button on the AR637T and the other AR631, AR630. So basically the new ones. This is an AR637TA, actually. Not to be confused with the T, which is actually the full featured receiver. So we're gonna flip it on its belly. We're gonna pull this cover off so that we can get ready access to where the bind button is, which is here, okay? Excuse me. And then the throttle, there's a bind plug here if you want, okay? Throttle's gonna go here, so we'll have to pull the wires out potentially to do that, okay? So now that we have that accessible, we're gonna lay this thing down. We're gonna open up the hood, and we're gonna get ready to plug this thing in. Now it's real easy on the first go round because you don't really need to do anything too fancy. I need the forceps though, if you don't mind. Thank you. Make it a little easier to get these things out. So you can see it's just a tight spot. Okay, so I am going to plug this in, try to keep it at a level attitude if possible. Look at those sweet LEDs. Oh, I love it. Okay, so now it's just beeping because it's not actually bound. I'm reaching in there. It's awkward to reach to, but you can definitely do it. Oh, where's that thing? Gosh, that's a weird spot.
Nope, yeah,
Got it.
yep, got it. It's flashing.
Okay, so it's flashing. So now since this is basically in a level attitude, you shouldn't actually need to do that for a bind and fly. but on a virgin brand new plug and fly, you'd have to have it level. Okay, binding. It's a miracle. It's the first time ever. Okay, we have a warning that our battery's not charged. That warning is really annoying. Okay, I'm gonna click past it by hitting back. Then I'm gonna literally immediately check my controls, up, down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right, take off flaps, landing flaps, awesome. Gear are gonna clear, I think. If they aren't, I wanna resolve that now. The mains will, but the nose gear also will. Gear cycled and down. So sweet. Rudder's working. So we didn't screw up our cables.
Yay.
That's pretty good. Okay, all the directions of travel are correct. Throttle cuts off. It's going the right direction. That's 10% throttle. My battery is, I hear a noise. I wonder if my EDF fan is hitting over there. If it is, it won't be hitting for long. Okay, so let's take a look at this real quick. First things first, click, scroll down to audio events, telemetry warnings, smart battery, startup volts, inhibit, overcharge, inhibit, imbalance. I don't know if I really care. I have a smart battery. I trust it's going to stay balanced. If it doesn't stay balanced, it's going to be it's going to be a huge fireball. It's going to be exciting for you guys at least. Then also, we can actually do volts. See this? You can set this to 6S. And you can set the minimum volts to have an alarm, either a tone, vibrate, or voice. Now, status reports can be on all the time, or warning reports can be on every, I don't know, 30 seconds might be too infrequent. I would say 15 seconds. If you set it 15 seconds, I don't think that one ties up your screen, okay?
And were you okay with the 18 or whatever the default was?
Yeah, let's take a look at that again. Telemetry warnings, volts. Okay, so 6S, 6 times. Every time I try to do this in my head, I screw it up. I think it's like 24 volts or something like this.
You don't do math on camera anymore.
Yeah, we don't do math on camera anymore. So 6 times 3.3, which would be really on the bottom. I mean, I would say that's 19.8. Normally 6 times 3.5 would be 21. I would say 21 would be like, if it's at 21, you're probably already in trouble on a twin 64. So the problem we've had is that once you change this, it wants to go to 7S, okay? So I don't really care about max, it's inhibited, and that's fine with me, okay? Now you can also go to all sorts of other cool things, okay? Pretty cool, huh? I'm just gonna set that to empty for now. Now you can also go into telemetry and you can auto config it. So it's probably gonna undo some of the work we just did, but I'm gonna just see what it does for auto config. It's supposed to do that automatically at the beginning. So you pulled over the stuff that it had. Okay, good, that's all inhibited still. I'm gonna go ahead and turn volts on. And see, it did clear that, dang it. So I'm gonna go to 6S. I'm gonna set that to 21. And I'm gonna set that to voice. And I'm gonna set up warning reports only at 15-second intervals. I don't want status reports the whole time I'm flying. That gets annoying. It is super distracting, by the way. And then I think you can actually change, yeah, I don't think that's gonna do what I wanted. Okay, so forward programming is where we're gonna make our assignments for safe. So, throttle cuts on, gyro settings, save select. Now we have to make an assignment.
AS3X mode.
Safe select channel. Safe select is on. Safe select channel. Auxiliary 3. Connection failed. Don't worry about it. Just go back in. That happens a lot when you're doing the forward programming the first time on these bind and flies. Go to gyro settings, safe select. See how it's switching? Okay, so in this, I want safe on. See how this is backward? Okay, so there's two ways to resolve that. You can flip auxiliary, in this case 3. So it booted me out. So I'm just gonna flip it in the servo setup. No reason to go in and fight it. Now, if you had an AR637T instead of a TA, you could go in and change it to whatever you want, okay? So now watch this. How do you tell your safe is on?
Off. AS3X mode.
Elevator, watch this. Off, safe. See it change? It dropped down lower. Ailerons, see how it moved a little bit further? Okay. So throttle cuts on, I'm gonna close the gear or retract the gear. Okay. Now I'm gonna flip this plane on its belly. And you'll note that nothing is happening because AS3X has not been activated. I can actually put this little access back over the opening. We might need to get in there for the ESCs, for our thrust reverse. Trying to find level. Also looking at the elevator, it's hard to see on camera, but it is trying to level the plane. It is trying to level the plane. Can you come up here so they can see? See the elevator? Because of the split elevator, or because of the twin tails. Okay, so it's just trying to level the aircraft and then also trying to find the quickest route. You'll note that those are very bright LEDs. Okay, so we're obviously in safe. Off, and AS3X only. Now, throttle cuts off. Okay. AS3X is working. AS3X is still working. Why? Because I never turned it off. We'll turn it off now. Okay, so the gear down. We may actually need this on the stand, so I'll just be careful. Because if the gears cycle, I don't want to have something get broken. All right, guys, if you want to change so you have an off setting, you'll scroll down to forward programming, throttle cuts on, gyro settings, safe. So in the middle, AS3X is off, okay? Safe is also off. Walk out. Now watch this. I may have to throttle again. Throttle cuts off. See, nothing's going on. AS3X. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so I am in AS3X mode. That's the way I want to be for my maiden flight. I will fly this with AS3X unless I'm demonstrating that safe works, and that's the only time I'll use safe. Now with safe comes panic, but only if you do it as a plug-in fly. So keep that in mind. I want to show you what I'm talking about. If you go to forward programming, throttle cuts on, safe select, there's nowhere to set up panic, okay? So just be aware, if you're looking for panic, just make panic the same as safe being on, okay? If you insist on tying it to this switch, just go into digital switch setup, force the mode if it's in that position, okay? Panic mode is a more robust safe, meaning that you have a little bit higher gains for 2 to 3 seconds after you let go of it, and then you can get back on the sticks, it'll shut off automatically and go back to regular auto leveling mode, or AS3X, whichever switch position you have it in. Okay, if you guys weren't aware. So this is safe select though, not full safe, not full safe. Okay, so the elevator's moving, the ailerons are moving, the rudders are moving, the steerable nose gear is moving. I can see the gear are cycling beautifully. They look awesome. The flaps are deploying The elevator is correcting. It's very hard to see, but it is definitely changing, and it's changing at the rate I expect. We have everything set up. This thing could fly right now, but we don't have thrust reverse. So we're gonna talk about thrust reverse now. If you don't need thrust reverse, before you guys click off of this video, don't forget to buy this from the link in the video description. If you'd like to support our channel, we really appreciate you doing that. Also, the NX8 has been great. We'll also link to the batteries that we use in this video, or if we find the one that we like better, we'll put that into the video description as well. We always put that stuff for you, or Patreon and PayPal if you'd like to support us, but you don't want to buy from the links below because you like supporting your local hobby shop, or if you are overseas and it's too expensive to ship where you are, and so you end up going through another party. So if that's the case, we appreciate you either way. Don't forget to give us a like. We get punished big time on YouTube because we do this long format where we go through the entire setup. All right, so let's talk about thrust reverse for a minute. Thrust reverse is easy to set up, but you have to know where to do it. See that? That's so sweet. Look at that. So I scrolled all the way over. You know what? I don't see it on there. I don't see it on there.
What is the...
It's usually you have to scroll all the way over to get to it.
I know, but do you have to unplug and plug back in?
No, you should be able to see it right away. I don't see it though. So that's, now I'm not sure if Horizon just made the decision, the executive decision that we were gonna just not allow for that, but we're gonna find out right now. Might be that the flight pack is too low too. I don't see it anywhere in there. Normally you would see, oop. Nope. I don't see it, do you?
Should we look and...
No, we don't need to look. It's right here. It'd be right here. Oop, is that it? No. Normally you would just scroll all the way to the right and you would actually be able to see it right there. It'd be all the way at the right.
Right.
So I believe what Horizon has done on this model is, given the nature of the two ESCs and the addendum, what they're telling you without telling you is they don't trust you to get it right.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit frustrating. Now, how do you actually make this work? Show people. You end up having to get that thing. Oh wait.
That thing.
That thing. SPMX CA200. It's a programming box for the ESC. Once you get that, then you're gonna have to plug in the smart ESCs one at a time to update firmware. Then once you update the firmware, or alternatively, could also be the fact that our batteries aren't fully charged. There are some safeguards in regard to the full charge of the battery. So we're gonna try that real quick and then respond with that answer. All right, so we did our due diligence for you guys because we know you're gonna ask about thrust reverse. I plugged in just a series of extension cords just to kind of make it easy. And we pulled off the motors, and there are two cables here. Okay, I'm not gonna plug both in at the same time. I'm gonna plug one in. I just have a Y cable. I did try it with both. It doesn't do anything, okay? But I'm just gonna show you what you'll see, which is nothing. Okay, so we've got black to black. That's the important part. Then we're gonna plug in a 95% charged Gen 2 pack, 4,000 milliamp hour 6S, okay? So this is gonna be the appropriate battery. Plugging it all the way in so we get contact with our smart lead. You'll note that it's beeping a bunch. Within a few seconds, we're gonna scroll all the way over and it doesn't go past the G-force menu. Gyroscope, safe limits, ES3X settings, telemetry, smart battery, battery info, ESC status. As you can see, we don't have it. Also, we can't go down to the telemetry and auto config it, okay? I'm just gonna check settings. See, nothing there, nothing there, okay? Also, if you go into the Smart ESC, Nothing there, okay? So basically what I'm doing is I'm proving to you that this is a waste of your time without the programming box that would go into each of these cables. So let's show them a close up here. It's integral dual smart ESC. As you can see, that's what that looks like, okay? So the reason we're showing you this now, just to assuage anybody that's gonna be, well, there's gonna be somebody that says, well, you didn't try this. No, I tried it all off camera, but I'll show you right now because I know there's gonna be a naysayer out there. Black to black, okay? Right here is black to black. Okay, then we have another black to black for the other, and this is just emulating what it would be if you did both at the same time. Okay, listen to the startup. You're gonna hear the AS3X kick in, but you're still not gonna get anything here, okay? So just to show you, there's nothing there, okay? It's not even gonna initiate the smart ESC because it's not finding the smart ESC as it's expecting to find it, okay? So obviously our cable, just to show you, and we have just a pillow on here. I'm gonna go ahead and unplug this battery because we don't have it held in. 50C 6S Gen 2. We're gonna flip this over. Camera crew, you're gonna have a hand on that. You got it? Mm-hmm. Doesn't feel like you got it.
Well, here, hold on, let me switch hands. Okay.
Okay, so if you don't have it, you don't have it. You gotta hold it. There you go, got it?
Yep.
All right, so hold it tight.
Yep.
Like you mean it.
Yep.
Okay, so guys, I don't know if you can see this here, but we are plugged in, negative down, into channel 1, which is our throttle channel, okay? That was the cable that was unplugged. It says throtto. So I'm gonna plug this back in. Now, if I remember right, there's also an additional lead that we never mess with on these smart ESCs, but no matter what we do, we can't get the menu structure to be right. I need to try to flip this. Can we flip it? Mm-hmm. Okay, hold tight. All right, got it. That's good. All right, so the reason we showed you all that is because we don't want you guys to waste your time tearing apart your plane because you're just wasting your time unless you happen to have that little box that looks like an XBC. It looks like an XBC battery checker, like this, except that it's actually an ESC programmer for the smart ESCs. Now, the reason you need that tool is because then you update the firmware, evidently, on the ESCs. Once you update the firmware on the ESCs, then you can separate them as we did there. Okay, now let's show you what happens. Just so you can see we have the full suite of features back. ESC's armed, okay? Everything's working, okay? Okay, so everything's working. I'm just gonna throttle a little teeny bit. Okay, both of them are working, as you can see. Okay, and it's going the correct direction because it tried to take off. So, in closing, we're not gonna be able to do thrust reverse without getting that box. Not 100% sure if it's gonna follow this video right now, or if it's gonna be something that we do after the Maiden. After all, thrust reverse is one of those things that's very cool, but also many times not very necessary. Unless of course you're talking about water ops where you can thrust reverse out of the parking spot or get away from some weeds or something like that if you have floats, and it really does help on the water. F-16, it was night and day, going from about 800 foot rollout, in my case, down to about 250 or 300 feet, which makes a huge difference in our application. So I think it's worth fighting for, and we will. So I believe at some point we're gonna generate the video footage, but I just want you guys to know, if you don't have that box, don't waste your time because it won't work. And then even if you did have the box, you can't get to the menu. Now, there is another way to do it that I believe will probably work, and that is to energize the model and follow the step-by-step instructions because it is pulse width modulation driven, meaning I don't believe you have to actually show it on the screen, but you would still be able to actually program those ESCs. The problem is I don't know exactly how it sets up because this is a dual ESC. It's not two individual ESCs that are in heat shrink together. It's actually a dual ESC that has a controller board in. So that all being understood, this is all gonna get put back together and then we'll test the CG and come right back. All right, so obviously thrust reverse is a no-go so far. And if I didn't mention earlier in the last clip, we put a fully charged battery, 95%. It should be enough to not cause the alarm, and therefore we still didn't see anything. So we've got the center of gravity marks here. We're gonna go ahead and throw the gear open, okay? Fingers on the back set of holes, which would be at 70 millimeters, pretty nose heavy. It's just leaning the gun into my chest. On the front holes, tail heavy. In the middle, I'd say 1/3 back, it's about perfect. Now, gear retracted, look what they all do. They come forward, all three. That's unusual on an airplane. I mean, not unusual on an airplane, but unusual on a model airplane. Okay, on the front hole, we're balanced out nicely, okay? On the middle of it's gonna be nose heavy. I would err on nose heavy with a plane. I'd rather have a light elevator with a flap equipped plane any day of the week than a tail heavy or neutral. Yes, you're gonna need a little bit more room for your landings, but look where we have the battery. This is a 4006S, look at this. Battery was plugged in first and then rammed in. There is room to move back. You see that? Why do they even bother with these straps? I don't understand. It seems like every manufacturer does that. So it's like, okay. So now we have two holes and now we're just gonna show you. Back hole is still nose heavy. Front hole is now firmly in the tail heavy. So somewhere in the middle, I would say about 1/3 of the way back again, we're comfortable, okay? Throw your gear. Now watch this. Your flaps are actually gonna change your CG very slightly too, okay? I would say that on the front hole, you're even to slightly tail heavy. On the back hole, you're still nose heavy. Okay, so what does that mean for flight performance? Whoops. Full landing flaps, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Now, you remember how it was plus 70 instead of plus 100? That's because otherwise you'll hit these canoes, okay? So sweet. Okay, so we did this when we did the original Unbox build and radio setup. And so just because we are not gonna be underdone, outperformed by an older video, even if it was our own video, we're gonna see if we can do the same thing. Throttle cuts off. 50% throttle. That is powerful. It's not even at 100%. That is pretty good, guys. And not only that, even though it's loud, it's not that loud, which is good and bad. So I would say we're at about 70 to 75% throttle, and we have a 1-to-1 power to weight ratio, or very close to it. So if you guys are if you're in the mood for a little A-10 action, this is definitely the way to go. I had a freewing a long time ago. I hated it in a 70 millimeter, and it was just garbagey. And I was also a terrible pilot at the time, I'm sure. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. I've flown it a long time ago, and all of the modifications to get it to the Gen 2, which there are quite a few, make for an even better, more compelling reason to purchase this thing. So I would definitely seriously consider it. If you're even in the ballpark for the A-10, this is the A-10 for you. Twin 64 millimeters doesn't seem like much, but wait till you see this thing going by at over 100 miles an hour. And it's gonna be controllable and beautiful and just an absolutely gorgeous plane. Look how bright these LEDs are. They're blindingly bright.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, other manufacturers, if you're listening, that's what we expect. We expect to have good LEDs. And yes, you can see them when the plane is coming at you, but they do get blocked at certain angles, just like a real plane would, okay? Very happy with this plane. Can't wait to see it in the air. Very disappointed about the thrust reverse, but it's also very much not a huge issue because this plane didn't need it before. I am going to work to get it for you guys so you can see how to do it, if you decide to do it, and if we can find a trick that will allow us to do it without the, what is it, like a $30 box?
The programming
So
box.
I'm not a big fan of needing the programming box. I think that's a little bit of a farce. But at this point, I love the plane enough to not get too bent out of shape about it because this is gonna be a sweet plane. And by the way, no carving, nothing. That is the stock lid with a smart 4000, okay? It won't go a whole lot more than that though, you see? I am out of room. So all the way back, basically, this is how you do it. I wanna show you this because this is a factor. Grab your battery, pull it out, get your lead, disconnect it. That is one of the major benefits of Gen 2, is that you've got one lead, one plug, and then you're golden, okay? So I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do it each and every time. Lay it down in the nose. It's always a lot easier to do this on a plane stand than it is out in the field. Okay, so just keep that in mind as you're making your plans for what you need to bring for a given plane. Temporarily strapped. Get this thing nice and level and true. Don't break off your front antenna thingy. Plug it in, wait for initiation. You'll note that there was 2 dances. That means AS3X and safe are both active. That's 1. That's 2. Take your lead. Work it down in carefully. Control where it goes. Don't just jank it in there. Okay. Now you can also turn this battery like this and you can get just a hair more. I mean, and I'm talking like barely any more. But I want you to be aware there is actually a little bit more that can be achieved. Okay. Then you get this thing back there. See, that's about all you can get, is about 1 millimeter more. And that is as far as you can go in my expectation. If you go any further, you're gonna end up tearing up your wiring. You may unplug something. So always make sure that you go through a full control surface test before you try to maiden this plane, because you are gonna be pushing into those wires. So without further ado, guys, we will get you the thrust reverse figured out. We'll let you know if it's effective and necessary. And barring unforeseen circumstances that are outside of my control, we're gonna get it to you. I can't promise it for sure in this video, but if it's available, we'll bring it to you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to buy these things from the links in the video description below. You'll be supporting our channel. Thanks to our patrons. If you wanna become a patron, look in the video description below. There's a link right there if you wanna send us gifts because you don't wanna buy this stuff from the links. We have a PayPal thing too. So many different ways to help support us. If you absolutely loathe the A-10, we can't be friends anymore, just kidding. There's lots of other planes in the video description below. Check them out if you wanna help support us by buying something else, or maybe you've already got this beautiful plane and you wanna buy something like an NX8 or an IX12 or IX20 or whatever it is that you're into, you can do it right there. So thanks for coming back, guys. So much more to come. Stay tuned.